Hello and welcome to Letters from Home. I'm Rob Corzine here at the St. Paul Center. Today is June 1st, Tuesday, in the 9th week of Ordinary Time, and also the memorial of St. Justin Martyr. If you would, please do it now, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and so you can keep getting notified of these reflections, both by myself and Curtis Mitch and John Bergsma. Today, we're in the Gospel of Mark, and to just set things up, Jesus has cleansed the temple, Jesus has preached against the leaders, and now they're coming after him. And they're going to send three sets of people to come after him and try and trap him. Tomorrow, you'll be hearing about the second set with Dr. John Bergsma when the Sadducees came and took their shot. But today, it's the turn of the Pharisees and the Herodians. So we're in Mark chapter 12, and we'll begin in verse 13. And they sent to him some of the Pharisees and some of the Herodians to entrap him in his talk. And they came and said to him, "Teacher, we know that you are true and care for no man, for you do not regard the position of men, but truly teach the way of God." So they're going to start by buttering him up, right? And then they go on, "Is it lawful to pay the taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay them or should we not?" But knowing their hypocrisy, he said to them, "Why put me to the test? Bring me a coin and let me look at it." And they brought one, and he said to them, "Whose likeness and inscription is this?" They said to him, "Caesar's." Jesus said to them, "Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar, and to God the things that are God's." And they were amazed at him. So there's a lot going on here. And first of all, we should just look at who these people are. So the two groups that come, the Pharisees and the Herodians, are in some ways an odd match. The Pharisees are a strict sect among the Jews. They want the law to be followed more closely. They're sort of the scolds that you see, arguing for a very strict interpretation of the law, but not always following it very well, as Jesus points out to them over and over again. The Herodians are the kind of secular party, right? Herod is appointed king by the Roman authorities. The Herodians are the go along to get along, the sort of politically connected. Let's do what the Romans say, and we'll get benefits from them, and they'll leave us alone. So the Pharisees, from parushim, really means the separatists. Like, we don't want to be involved with the Gentiles. We don't want to eat with them. We don't even want to eat with the people who eat with them. We're about ritual purity. Are hanging out with and conspiring with the Herodians. Let's go along with the Romans. This is not the first time. We see in Mark 3, verse 6, that again, it's the Herodians and the Pharisees who are conspiring together to destroy Jesus. So what's the nature of the trap here? They come to him and say, we know that you're a godly man, that you don't listen to human opinion. You don't care what people think of you. You're just going to follow what's right. You're going to follow God. Should we pay the taxes or not? And it's a two-sided trap. They think they've got him, whatever he says. If he says, no, don't pay the tax, then he's a rebel against the authority of Rome, and they can go to the authorities and get him in trouble. If he says, yeah, pay the tax, whatever, then it looks like he's conspiring with Rome, and he's not zealous for the things of God. Now, this particular tax, had been instituted in 6 AD. It was when the Romans came in and deposed Herod Archelaus and installed a Roman governor. And it was so offensive to some of the Jews, and particularly a guy named Judas the Galilean, that he launched a rebellion at the time. And that was really the beginning of the Zealot movement. And Jesus could be considered associated with them. He's got one of his disciples, Simon the Zealot. So they're saying, are you a rebel to Rome, or are you a quisling? Are you a Vichy collaborator with Rome? And Jesus does a really cool thing. He asks them to see the coin. Show me the coin, and they have one. And so immediately, just the fact that they produce this coin is a bit of a problem for them. The coin that it took to pay this tax is called a denarius, and in the context here in Mark, this is taking place in the temple. And they produce the coin and give it to him. And he says, okay, whose image is this and whose inscription? The inscription on a denarius, well, the image is the head of Tiberius Caesar. And the inscription is Tiberius Caesar Divi Augusti Filius Augustus, the blessed Tiberius Caesar, son of the divine Augustus. So this is a blasphemous, idolatrous coin. On the other side, it calls Tiberius Pontifex Maximus, the high priest of Rome. So on this coin, Caesar is claiming to be the son of divine Augustus, the son of God, and the image itself is a problem, right? The Jews have this law of God against graven images, and it's claiming to be the connection between God and man. So it's really a blasphemous, idolatrous coin. And Jesus doesn't have to say anything, but so you've got one of these in your pocket here in the temple? It's a little problematic. But then he goes on to say, it's got his image on it. Give it back to him. Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. And then then the turn comes. And unto God the things that are God's. And so that raises the question, what is it that bears God's image? What is it that bears God's inscription? It's a reference back to Genesis. In Genesis 1:27, God created man in his own image and likeness. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created him. So people are the ones who bear the image of God. You are asking me about rendering unto Caesar this piece of metal. Now I'm challenging you to render unto God yourselves, your whole body, soul, heart, all of the things that you have been, it looks like, giving to Caesar rather than to God. He turns the trap completely upside down on them, and that's what he tends to do every time. So it also implies, right, that Caesar himself is not divine. Caesar bears the image of God, and so Caesar himself owes that kind of homage to God. And this is in some ways the sort of foundation or the beginning of Christian politics. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and unto God the things that are God's means both we can and should obey the civil authority, but there are limits. There are things that are not Caesar's. This is really tied up nicely in Romans 13. Paul, writing to the Romans, or in Rome, says, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, he who resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment." Skipping down to verse 6. "For the same reason you also pay taxes. For the authorities are ministers of God," literally deacons, diakonoi there, attending to this very thing. "Pay all of them their dues, taxes to whom taxes are due, revenue to whom revenue, respect to whom respect, honor to whom honor is due." And so Paul is making a similar point, right? The civil authorities are God's ministers, are God's deacons, because by his providence, that's the only reason they're there. And the Caesar, when Paul is writing this, is not one of the good Caesars. It's Nero. And so we're not subject to the civil authorities because they're good. They're often pretty awful. But then the second part of it is render unto God the things that are God's. And so sometimes Caesar will ask you for things that we cannot give, that are not his to ask. There are things that are not Caesar's. The Catechism talks about this in 2242. "The citizen is obliged in conscience not to follow the direction of civil authorities when they're contrary to the demands of the moral order, to the fundamental rights of persons, or to the teaching of the gospel. Refusing obedience to civil authorities when their demands are contrary to those of an upright conscience finds its justification in this verse, in the distinction between serving God and serving Caesar." And so today we need to find ways to do both of those, but really the second one, right? To follow Christ in giving ourselves, our whole hearts, mind, soul, and strength to God, and recognizing those areas, the things that are not Caesar's, the things that we cannot offer to mere civil authority who themselves are subject. They bear the image of God and owe him that homage. God bless and keep you today, and I will see you back here next week.